Hello everyone, welcome to my pod, The Rising Horror, and I'm your hostess, Morphia, and let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the intro of my podcast. I'm so glad you are here, and I thought that for this intro, I could start with my own experience with paranormal activity. Before I start, make sure to subscribe to my Patreon and join my Facebook group. Okay, here I go. When I was around 8 or 9 years old, my parents were getting divorced. I was going through some tough times at that time and everything was just great for me. My mom used to work in another city to have money to feed me and my brother, and since I was the youngest child, everyone cared so much more about me. After my parents got officially divorced, my mother, who tried really hard to keep us on our toes, in quotes, was not having it very easy, but we lived somehow. I remember that my mom came up to me and told me that we would move out and that I should start getting my stuff together and take what I want to take and leave what I don't need. I never really thought she actually meant it, but she actually did. And it was quite a surprise to me, since I basically grew up in this apartment. Ever since I was a child, I had a fear of something. I could never explain it, but it felt like something was either watching me or chasing me. And trust and believe when I say that I could not go to the toilet without a light. After this kept happening, I really thought it was just my imagination. I used to watch a lot of horror movies with my brother, who is 11 years older than I am. We had our beds next to each other and the TV was above my bed so that I could see it when I laid in the bed. My brother used to watch horror movies like Alien vs Predator and so on. After he fully moved out and we finally packed our stuff, it was time to move out of the apartment, and I was sad and devastated. I'm not going to lie. After all, I grew up in this apartment. We got out of the apartment and I said goodbye for the last time. I was a very emotional child, so I cried all over the way to the new apartment, which was literally just 3 minutes away. I met the owners. They seemed very nice and they were a lovely pair, older I guess, around the age of 60, 70, and they gave us the keys and we got into this new bigger apartment. I was in shock, like wow, I never saw this big apartment. Why I was so excited was because I was really happy to finally get my own big room. We got in and I sat down to take some rest, and then we started to unpack slowly. My mom started unpacking all important stuff like clothes and then putting them into the dresser, and I was taking out my toys from the luggage. I remember that when I was in the room, I started getting this eerie feeling. It did not feel very good. But I thought that I just had a deja vu moment, because a lot of times I have them simply from just a smell or when I get reminded of something like my grandma's house and so on. My mom came up to me and asked me if I was hungry. Of course I replied yes, as she went into the kitchen. Meanwhile I went into the living room to watch some Disney Channel. Often as I sat in the living room, I could see the doors open and close out of nowhere. My mom would never hear this or saw it, because you have to imagine that when you come into the apartment through the main door, the bathroom is to the left, and then 3 feet from there the kitchen is also to the left, so you cannot see the door closing and opening from her point of view, but you can see it from the living room, because when you sit in the living room you see directly at the toilet. Anyways, I never really thought of anything of it, because usually the balcony was open all the time, so I thought it might have been just wind. It was hard getting used to the new apartment. Maybe I was being a little bit too paranoid or too harsh. After we slept there for one night, everything was pretty okay. I was still not feeling the best. Mom called a man to come into the apartment and separate the bedroom with the kids' room, aka my room. They came the same day and then finished the work also the same day. We had everything prepared because my brother came on his car and brought all the stuff that were needed to separate the room. The night came pretty quick around and it was time to go to the bed. I went to take a bath as usual around 7 p.m. and I got my pajamas on me and I went to watch the TV. I was allowed to watch the TV until 21 o'clock, aka 10 p.m. and then it was time to go to bed. I got into the bed before my mom. I was sleeping with her for that time, and please keep in mind that in our bed there was 4 mirrors next to me. I laid myself into the bed and I was scared for some reason. I could not sleep and I thought I was seeing someone or something by the edge of my bed. I had shivers all over my body and of course I just thought to myself, I'm being just very sleepy and I'm probably making this up. I finally fell asleep and in my dream I was in front of my grandma's house. It was this weird feeling. What am I even doing at that place? I never understood it, but I went into the house and on my right as I entered was a big old looking mirror. I would say that it looked like it was from the 60s. It was big and it was made out of light wood. It had a circle shape, that's all I can remember. I was looking into the mirror at myself and as I was looking, I saw that my reflection started blinking at me and looking at me with an evil look. I got very scared and I remember wanting to run but I couldn't really run. Afterwards, the worst thing in my life that you can only think about in your nightmares happened. My reflection actually came out of the mirror and started running at me. I remember running, but the reflection caught me and started doing these weird demonic sounds as I could describe them, and I remember I died in the dream. I woke up with tears and sweat and I peed myself. I woke up my mom and I told her what happened. She found it strange, but she thought that I'm just a child, so it was pretty normal to have these dreams. After all, children have big imagination. And these dreams just continued on and on and on, and they got worse and worse. After 1.5 weeks, my mother left because it was time for her to go to her work, and when she left, all I can say is that it just got worse. I had a babysitter that would come, learn with me, feed me, and then would leave, and I was home alone. It was like a nightmare for me, and I felt being watched, being haunted, and I was so scared out of my soul. I had even a hard time going to the toilet. I remember one specific night when I had the same dream again, but this time I woke up with a blue bruise on my shoulder where I remember the reflection holding me in the dream before eventually killing me. I remember that after going to school with them, my teacher thought that my mother was physically abusing me or hurting me in general. But I was always thinking, no, she would never do that, and I was trying to tell them that it's not the truth. And they believed me, thankfully. It was getting so bad that I used to wake up screaming or not breathing. I had bite marks, blue bruises, and I used to pee myself as well as to even have fevers. My mom thought that I was sick all the time from the weather, because once it was cold, once it was warm, you could never predict it. Or she thought that I was being bullied in school because of the marks and so on. Of course, I denied all of the assumptions. All I remember is how I wanted to hide the truth from my mom to not be seen as the crazy person, but right now I wish I talked with her about this and what was actually happening. After a year of going through this, we finally managed to move out to another place where I was feeling safer, less watched, and all I can say that this gave me a lesson for my life that you should never misjudge what actually can be happening with science. Of course, other people may see it differently, but I see it like this. And since that day, I became a true believer. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed my first episode of the intro, and I hope that you will stick around to hear more of mine and others' experience. My name is Morphia, and I will be uploading a new episode once or twice a week, and I really hope you stick around for more. I'm also open for submitted stories from you guys. You can find me on social media under The Rising Horror Pod on Instagram and Morphia website on Facebook. If you want to read my book or join my Patreon, go as well to Morphia or go to my website at www.freya.svensson.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you around for the next one. Bye!